Welcome back to the production here, dude. Today we are continuing Cabin Fever. We're on to chapter 6 currently, which is attachment. So, yeah, in the last episode, it was a lot to take in. I know, like, it was kind of just like lecturing so much about, oh, the cabin functions because this does that and this does blah blah blah. And then also, like, he lost his doggo, and then now he's flirting with Mallory. So we're obviously most likely going to just like pick up from where he left off when it comes to flirting with Mallory. So let's see where we go from there.
Good morning, sleepyhead.
Hey, yo, who's this? Alright, the voice drew me up towards consciousness, but I didn't know if it was real or part of a dream. I heard a familiar creaking. Who could be walking up the stairs? I was pretty sure it wasn't me. No, I was definitely laying in bed. My eyelids were heavy and my brain was only half awake. I lay pressed down on the bed near my feet.
Wakey, wakey.
It's time for school.
She's really about to say, wakey, wakey, time for school. Yeah, it sounded like Mallory. I teetered on the edge of consciousness, hoping I'd be left alone to fall back into slumber. The weight at the end of the bed shifted, shaking me a little. I squeezed my eyes shut.
Okay, you leave me no choice. Incoming pounce attack!
Hello, motherfucker.
I was jolted awake then, fully this time by the force of Mallory jumping on top of me. Look at that art. A panic shout escaped me as I yanked the covers up past my neck, leaving only my face exposed. Mallory beamed, straddling me proudly, her clear aquamarine eyes filled with mischief.
Oops, did I scare you? Well, you left me no choice. I tried calling you, throwing things at you, and wafting delicious smiles in your direction. None of those worked, so this was my last resort for getting you to wake up. And it did the trick. You're awake now.
What kind of monster just pounces like that on a poor defenseless sleeping person?
Monster, you say?
Oh, Mallory.
Wow, you sure do know how to give a girl a compliment.
I scowled at her playfully. Pretty sure she was resting her whole weight on me, but she felt like nothing. And though I'd been legitimately startled, and more than a little confused, I found now that I didn't dislike the situation.
If you're jumping about like this, does that mean your leg is feeling better?
Mallory looked down on her bandaged leg, and then back at me. She pursed her lips.
It doesn't hurt as much, but it feels kinda weak. Like it might give out if I put too much weight on it.
I didn't know enough to know that it was normal or what it meant. I nodded vaguely and just stared up at her, and she stared down at me. And then I shook myself.
So why did you need me to wake up so urgently?
She cocked her head.
I made you breakfast and I didn't want it to get cold. And I was worried. You're usually up way earlier than this. And maybe I was a little lonely and sort of missed you.
What did she mean by usually up way earlier? I craned my neck to check the clock on my nightstand. Oh, that was what she meant.
Damn, what's up with me? I never sleep this long.
Sometimes your body just needs a little extra rest. Okay, now...
Mallory twisted, leaned over the bed, and produced as if from nowhere a plate of breakfast.
Ta-da!
Basically, when it says down of nowhere, it's like, wham! I pulled it out of my pants. Like, not even a pocket, but pants. And hey, maybe this could be a thumbnail, because look at that breakfast. And also that smile. She held the plate out, showing me the stack of fluffy golden waffles. I mean, they're fully golden. They smelled amazing, fruity, and sweet. Flecked with red and drizzled with maple syrup.
My mouth is watering. I never knew that was an actual thing that happened to mouths.
Yeah, let that mouth do.
Strawberry waffles from scratch will do that to you. You'll have to tell me once you taste them, but I think I may have outdone myself this time. The only thing I did make from scratch is the syrup.
That's okay. I made the syrup from scratch.
Wait, you did?
Oh wow, everything made from scratch. Yeah, I nodded.
There are tons of maple trees around here. I harvest their sap at the end of each winter. It's pretty simple. I drill small holes into the trees and insert what's called a spile, which is like a spout. The sap drains out through there and into a bucket. When I have enough to fill a pot, I essentially boil it down until it's mostly evaporated. Then it's syrup. And the best part is, it keeps forever, so I can just store it in glass jars in my pantry.
Mallory had never looked happier or more amazed. Or more beautiful.
That
Whoa.
sounds like some kind of fairy magic.
Yeah, I laughed.
The real magic is your cooking. This looks incredible. Although, do you mind taking it downstairs so we can eat there? I'd like to get dressed and, well,
You know. Mallory looked down at herself and the way she was straddling me. And her face turned bright red quite rapidly. She scrambled to get off me, nearly dropping a plate of waffles in her flustered state. Yeah, look at that. Flustered.
I'll do that now. Sorry. See you downstairs.
Without making eye contact, she raced down the stairs. There came the sound of cutlery? Anyway, there came the sound of cutlery being fumbled with in the kitchen below. I dragged my hand down my face, equal parts amused, exasperated, and happy. After breakfast, Mallory was quick to scoop up my plate and cutlery. I offered to help, but she said she would do them herself. By now, I had to learn that there was no arguing with her. Not because she was particularly stubborn, but because I caved at the slightest pushback. She made me weak, but like in a nice way. So while she cleaned up, I walked to the window overlooking the garden. The skies were dark and dreary, far more ominous this morning than before. The ground glistened and I could see little puddles on the path leading up to the door. They rippled as a gust of wind rushed past.
I guess it's another day indoors. Look how glum that weather is.
Oh, I thought I heard a sound right there. I glanced back at Mallory in the kitchen. She took a look through the window, making a little pouty face.
Also, clouds like this mean we're not getting any solar, so we're relying on what's stored in the battery bank for now. We should limit how much electricity we use today.
Okay, I'll be extra careful.
I turned back to the window and pressed my hand against it. The glass was cold, much colder than usual. If it was going to rain all day and be chilly, I should bring in some extra wood for the fire. 30 pieces should do. Then I stole another glance back at Mallory. Mallory in her threadbare sweater dress. So thin, so short. Better make it 50 pieces, I told my brain. Yeah, I'd agree. Outside, the rain was really coming down. I kept close to the edge of the cabin, sneaking along under what cover there was on my way to the woodshed. The ground was too muddy to use the wheelbarrow, so I figured we have to make more than one trip. I gathered up a big armload of firewood and brought it back to the cabin. I repeated this process, getting wetter and colder as I went. On my last trip to the woodshed, it occurred to me that I would have never bothered with this much effort if there were only myself in the cabin. I would have made do with the few logs already inside, wrapped myself in blankets, and, if it came to it, suffered the cold. But Mallory deserved better than that. After bringing all the wood inside, I laid it out in a towel beside the fireplace. I always inspected the logs for bugs, but I didn't want anything creepy hitching a ride inside my home. Once that task was done, I arranged a couple of logs along with some kind of kindling, and got a little fire going in the fireplace. I sat there for a few minutes, stoking the flames while the wood hissed and popped. Soon the living room was toasty. Mallory appeared at my side and sat down. She leaned towards the fire, its orange glow warming her face. I caught myself staring at her and slapped my hands against my thighs.
Well, I better make use of this time and get some work done on my computer.
Doesn't that use up the electricity?
The computer only draws around 250 watts. A couple of hours won't make much of a difference.
Let's hope so. Or else, you in trouble. Mallory stayed by the fire while I went to my desk and booted up my computer. The sound of the drizzling rain outside and the crackling fire in the fireplace soothed me as I settled into my chair. I could live like this forever, I thought. The peaceful atmosphere was interrupted by an annoying cascade of chimes from my email. I took a peek at my inbox and saw more spam. Of course. Read the spam, yeah, let's read it again. I opened up the first of the sketchy forwards.
Wow, more new cures for the virus discovered. This says, miraculous cure found. Dihydrogen monoxide combined with pink sodium chloride will save your life. Click here now to learn. Yeah, no, that link is definitely staying blue.
Oh, I forgot the part that says like...
And this other one has more emojis than actual words.
Anyway, I should have said, oh yeah, and you forgot the part where they say, doctors hate this trick. Oh my god, don't tell the doctors about this. And then like the shocked face or something. Like the shocked emoji. Yeah, Mallory laughed.
You never know. One of those headlines might turn out to be true someday.
Oh, Mallory, you're such an optimist.
I rolled my eyes playfully. Without thinking about it more than that, I deleted both of the emails, and I spent a few minutes checking some websites that were part of my daily routine. Sites for tech news, world news, and weather. A random ad for amazing delivery services reminded me about that first aid kit I needed to replace. I decided I might as well grab some painkillers too, since there had only been a handful left in the bottle when Mallory had asked for one for her leg. She seemed much better now, but still, it was good to have things like that on hand. You never knew when a headache might strike or a joint might get sprained. I ordered the new first aid kit and the aspirin, and then something else caught my eye. It was a type of ad I never usually get, and certainly never pay mind to, but for some reason I did this time. It was just a basic advertisement peddling some chintzy jewelry, but something compelled me to take a closer look. After clicking through, I was presented with an image of a stunning silver ring in the shape of a bow. The color and the sparkle immediately reminded me of Mallory. I wanted to buy it. Of for her.
Yeah, boy.
The next thing I knew, the order had been placed and a message appeared letting me know that all 3 of my purchased items would be arriving via drone drop within the next few days. The whole order plus delivery fees was ridiculously expensive, but what else was I going to spend my money on? You know, true. The only other thing you could do is just burn it. I leaned back in my chair, a little bit in disbelief of myself. I looked over at Mallory sitting in the living room. She had that old basket of clothing set aside. Oh yeah, set aside her basically. With a little pile of things neatly refolded beside it. Wait, actually, I want this art. Her head was bent low over some garment in her lap, her fingers working away. I realized then that she was using a needle and thread, sewing up holes and fastening buttons back where they belonged. I already forgot about the work I had needed to get done. I got up out of my seat and wandered over to look more closely at what she was doing.
Are you mending my clothes?
She brightened.
Yes, those ones are already done, and these ones here are still in progress.
You know, she's enchanting them all with mending.
I didn't even know you'd been working on this.
Well, normally I work on it before I go to sleep or when I first wake up. I find it sort of meditative.
You know, you don't have to do all these things for me.
I like keeping busy, and I like being helpful. Really, you've been so generous and kind taking me in like this. I just want to do everything I can to help you.
She kept working while she talked, so sweet and matter of fact. I smiled and suddenly, I really didn't want to bother with work. I just wanted to hang out with her.
You know, I don't think I'm in the right headspace for work today. Luckily, I don't have any looming deadlines, so maybe I'll take today off.
Yeah, come on, Jeongin, that's what I'm talking about.
We could just sit and enjoy the fire together. Maybe we could play a board game.
Mallory looked up at me in surprise.
Ooh, I love games. What did you have in mind?
I searched my memory. What 2-player games did I have kicking around? Most of the board games left in the cabin were more than a decade old. They were ones I used to play with my family when we vacationed here, and many of them were probably probably had missing cards or pieces, basically.
How about chess? Do you know how to play?
Surely the chess set on the game's shelf would still be intact, and those old pieces would be thrilled to get some use after all these years.
Chess? Yes. I used to play with my sister sometimes. I'm probably not very good at it.
That's okay. Neither am I.
Yep.
I'll grab the game.
I
Meet me at the table, okay?
I went to retrieve the chess set, just where I remembered. I unearthed the box and was dusting it off with my sleeve when I heard Mallory make a little noise.
Uh-oh.
I turned to check on her. She was still sitting on the floor beside the fireplace, mending clothing strewn about.
What's wrong?
She raised her hand up to her lips and began biting her nail.
I can't get up. My leg's fallen asleep.
Her words brought back a familiar phrase she said the night we met. I chuckled and reached out my hand to her.
Well, at least it's only asleep and not caught in a trap this time.
She smiled and accepted my hand to lift her up. Funny how I didn't even think twice about it anymore.
White or black?
We set the board out on the table and started setting up the pieces.
Wait, please.
I sat down on the black side of the board and finished arranging my pieces. When I looked up, Mallory was examining the box with pursed lips.
Are you missing a piece?
Looks that way. I don't mind subbing in a salt shaker or something else to play with.
Hey.
No way. We should play with real pieces.
Oh well. She gave me a look. It was sort of dismissive, sort of disheartened, but I meant what I'd said and I knew how to cheer her up.
Seriously, I can make you a proper chess piece. And I can make it look however you like.
Mallory stared at me, one eyebrow a little higher than the other.
How?
I held out one finger and headed towards my computer desk. And voila! The 3D
Remember the gauze with the cute potato pattern on it? I printed that out with my 3D printer. See?
See, remember that 3D printer? I took the equipment out and hooked it up to my computer, giving her a quick overview as I did.
This is just a small one, but it's very useful and quite simple. I just plug in the USB cable to my computer, then use a program to tell the printer what to make.
Wow, that's so cool. I'm missing the queen. Can it make that piece?
I let out a theatrical laugh, throwing my head back as I did so.
This baby can make anything your heart desires. Ask and you shall receive.
Yo, can it make me a sandwich then? Just kidding. She cradled her chin while she thought.
I desire a cat.
A cat queen?
Oh.
Alright, that works.
Can I watch?
The enthusiasm she showed left no room for arguments. I loaded up my software to search for a cat and picked out a cute figurine. I set it up to print and let Mallory press the very last OK button to get the process started. And now we witness history, or something. Several indicator lights on the 3D printer flashed as it got to work. It started to hum and whir.
It's like something out of science fiction.
Ooh, thumbnail. Mallory tilted her head to get a better look at the printer. She stood up to lean over and watch the cat being formed from above. Bingo exposed her cleavage and bra.
What the
I
hell?
tried not to look, unsure if she was aware of what her positioning was putting on display. I'd rather assume it was a mistake and not to take advantage of it, no matter how attractive the sight was. We were both quiet while we waited. Level after level, the cat queen built upon itself, and about 4 minutes later, we had a replacement chess piece. I removed the piece from the printer, handed it over to Mallory, and watched her expression turn from amazement to joy.
It's perfect.
And it wasn't the only thing. We sat down to play and the conversation came so easily. We shared what we knew about chess, how we'd learned to play, and how the game itself dated back to the 15th century, and how these days most people played it online. We talked about Deep Blue, the first computer to beat a world chess champion, and then the conversation turned to other random things that made us laugh. Little anecdotes from our childhood, questions we had about the universe. It turned into one of those days where the time just passes you by, impossible to notice. Until Mallory sat up straight while I was contemplating my options, pointing urgently.
Hey, look! There! The clouds are breaking.
Nah, I'm not falling for that. You just want me to turn my back so you can move the pieces around. You trickster, you.
Lotus stricken about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got her like, shaking my head and she left.
No, seriously. Look, the sun is shining over there. Can we go outside to look at it?
I twisted in my seat. Through the window, I could see the great gray sky, and over there, over the mountains, a glowing crack shedding golden sunbeams down onto the land.
Wow. Okay, yeah. Good idea. And I know a perfect viewing spot.
Mallory gleefully hopped off her chair and took my hand in hers. Outside, the air was damp. We walked together around the side of the house to the ladder I'd used the other day. I climbed up first, then turned to help Mallory up the last ladder rung and over the edge of the roof. Her hands felt so little and fragile in mine.
Watch your step. It's still wet and might be slippery. Luckily, the ridges help give traction.
We stood side by side, and out of an abundance of caution, and only an abundance of caution, I held her. The sun was on its way down, and I could tell the sunset was going to be incredible.
What do you think? Pretty good spot to watch the sunset?
Mallory took a few steps forward, leaving my hands empty. I shoved them into my pockets. For a moment, everything was quiet. I scanned the world around me and saw gray clouds streaking downward in the distance. Trees in heavy shadow with their tips lit up by the sinking sun. The ruins of the city nestled in the thriving landscape, and her. She let out a long, careful sigh, turning slightly to look back in my direction.
It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Whoa. Yo, this actually looks cool. You know what this looks like? This makes it look like she's like literally an angel. Like she just came down, like she descended, and then she's like, "All right, I am here. Who are you?" So that was like a cool wind blew past, catching her shining platinum hair and sending a few strands dancing around her head. There was something mournful in her tone, and it made my heart ache.
Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, for showing me all of this.
Wait, her expression changed, or is that my imagination? I don't know. I stared at her, wondering why she sounded so sad, yet also understanding that her sadness was the same as mine. God, she was beautiful. I stared and didn't know how I'd lived so long without her. Something changed up there on the roof. I came back to myself when a strong cold gust rushed past me, and I realized the sun had dipped beneath the horizon. I'd spent the whole time watching Mallory instead of watching the sunset.
It's already over? It happened so quick.
Yeah, it did.
Mallory had her arms wrapped around herself. I saw goosebumps on her legs, a little shivering in her shoulders.
I don't know about you, but I'm freezing. Shall we go back in?
I never paid attention before. I never cared.
I'm just gonna put the thingy here because I don't use the keyboard. She was so sad. I wanted to make it stop for her, but didn't know how.
Maybe the most beautiful things are beautiful because they're fleeting. You have to appreciate them while they're there. But hey, there'll be another sunset tomorrow.
It was getting dark now. I felt a few raindrops and the air felt heavy and sharp.
It's starting to rain again. Come on, let's go in.
Mallory turned slowly, nodding, not looking me in the eye. I stood by the ladder.
After you.
Her head was bowed and she moved so tentatively. I don't know how you say that. But I couldn't tell whether it was because she was sad or because she was nervous. Help her off the roof, probably, yeah. Because her leg's still injured, bro.
Let me help you down.
I offered my hand. She grasped it firmly and shuffled towards the edge of the roof, turning around. She lowered herself onto the ladder slowly, making her way down one careful step at a time. I waited for her to reach the ground before I climbed down after her.
Thank you. You're like my own personal guardian. I feel like you'd never let anything bad happen to me.
Yeah, you bet. You bet your ass you would not.
Not if you could help it anyway.
Of course. I care about your well-being.
She smiled at me and we carefully made our way back inside the house. The fire had burned low, but the inside of the cabin was warm and inviting, with a strange sense of calm.
It's so nice in here. I didn't realize how cold I was.
I nodded, resisting the urge to remind her about the jacket I'd offered every time we went through the door. I could tell she wasn't in the mood for me to poke fun at her. It was getting late, my stomach ached for something to eat, and I was sure she needed something too.
How about I heat up something from the freezer? And while we're waiting, we can have tea. It's my turn to make it this time.
That sounds nice.
Alright. She settled herself by the fire, gazing into the glowing embers. She seemed a million miles away. I made my way over to the kitchen and filled up the kettle, took out a container of stew and began the process of thawing it on the stove. I searched through my pantry for a particular jar of loose leaf tea, something I wanted her to try, and waited for the water to boil. When the tea was made, I poured Mallory's into a tacky cut mug my mother had bought at a yard sale once upon a time. I was glad to see Mallory's eyes light up when I handed her that mug.
Oh my, this is the cutest.
I thought you might like it.
I sat by her on the couch. The rain was coming down again, drumming hard on the window. We sat just listening, sipping our tea.
This tea is super yummy. Where did you get it from?
Phew, I was hoping you'd say that. I actually made it myself.
Gee, I never would have guessed.
If you didn't like it, I probably would have told you it was a free sample that came in the mail or something.
You really made it? Like you grew it in your fish garden?
Yep, harvested the tea leaves myself, dried them, tested different blends.
That's amazing. Who taught you all that?
I cleared my throat, a little nervous.
My mom did. She was a doctor. But she always had an affinity for herbal home remedies too. You know, ginger for an upset stomach, honey for a sore throat, antibiotics for an infection. When I was a kid, I didn't know there was any difference. All I knew was that whenever I was sick or hurt, my mom would whip out some drink or salve that made everything better. It was like witchcraft. She was really the one who taught me all about plants, how to take care of them, how they can be used.
Remembering my mother like this made my throat feel tight, brought a tear to my eye and a smile to my lips. It was the strangest feeling, totally bittersweet. Mallory's voice softened.
Your mother sounds incredible. If she was a doctor, then she probably saved many lives.
Yes, she and my father both helped save many people.
Gathering the courage to continue talking about them, I took a deep breath and closed my eyes.
They both died helping people. Until the bitter end, they tried to save as many lives as possible.
Mallory put her hand on top of mine. It was unusually warm, probably as a result of her holding onto the tea mug.
They left behind a wonderful person, and you should be proud of that fact. I'm sorry that you lost them.
Hearing her kind words nearly sent me to another wave of emotions, but I managed to hold them back.
Thanks. So, is it your turn again? I've told you about my parents and my dog, but you haven't told me anything about your family.
Yeah, Mallory, what about your dog? Just kidding. Yeah. What about your dog, bruh? Anyway, I tried to make my voice sound light and teasing, but really I was serious. I wanted to know her. Her hand twitched, and for a second I was afraid she would take it away, but she didn't. She just stared at me, and the silence went on so long I felt I had to fill it.
Honestly, Mallory, why are you so secretive? Why can't you tell me what you were doing out in the rain that night? I want to know what brought you to me.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you're not being sus or something, bruh. That did it. She pulled away and sank a little deeper into the couch, looking so sorrowful it hurt.
I'm scared to talk about it. Just thinking about it hurts so much. And I'm afraid that if I say it out loud, I won't be able to take the pain.
I frowned.
I understand. But if you share it with someone who cares about you, then they'll carry some of that pain too. You won't have to shoulder it alone. That someone is me, by the way. In case it wasn't obvious.
She smiled softly.
I do want you to know me. To know about them. My family. Life was hard. But I loved them so much. It was just me, my mom, and my little sister. That was my bubble.
Alright, thumbnail.
We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. We learned to do a lot with the little. Cooking nice meals out of subpar food. Dressing up in old worn-out clothes. Reenacting our favorite books when we couldn't read because the power was out again and there was no light. Our mom was a factory worker, so she had to go out every day to earn money for us so that we could at least survive. When she started showing symptoms, they sent her home. She tried to protect us. She stayed in her room, but we still went in, always trying to get her to eat or drink, giving her aspirin to keep down that awful fever. She kept telling us to stop coming in. We called for an ambulance already, but we were still on the waiting list. And what were we supposed to do? Leave her to die alone in her room? Well, she did die. My sister was with her when it happened. But I was out in the kitchen making us all something to eat. I can't even remember what it was.
A tear ran down Mallory's cheek.
By the time it was our turn for the ambulance to come, it was only to take away a body. My sister and I, we didn't know what to do. How were we going to be able to buy food or pay for electricity? We were at the mercy of companies already struggling to produce anything. Factories in the middle of shutdowns due to waves of sickness. And it just seemed hopeless. But, you know, we had learned about people living outside the cities. Smaller communities living off the land instead of trying to survive the old way. We thought, if that was real, maybe we should just leave the city behind. Somehow figure out a way to be like those people. Like you.
I nodded. For a long time I'd wondered why anyone had ever chosen to stay in the cities. Eventually I realized not everyone was lucky enough to have inherited an off-grid cabin like I did. I couldn't imagine the impossibility of getting started from scratch. Mallory gripped the edge of her sweater dress so tightly, she trembled.
About a week after our mom died, my sister gave me some laundry she just finished washing. She asked me to hang it out on the balcony to dry. And while I did that, she locked me outside. I thought it was a prank at first, but she wouldn't let me in, and I got upset. I was banging on the door, yelling at her through the glass to open up. She told me she couldn't because she was sick. She'd started developing symptoms the night before, and she struggled with it all night and all morning. And finally, I begged her to open the door. She refused. She said there was no safe way for us to stay together. Our mother's attempts to protect us hadn't worked. So my sister decided to take drastic action while she could.
My heart sank like a stone with every word she spoke.
She locked you out to save you.
Mallory nodded slowly.
We both cried, looking at each other from opposite sides of the glass, while she begged me to go. So I did. I climbed down the fire escape and just started walking. I wandered along the river and out through the suburbs into the woods. I didn't have anywhere to go, so I just kept on going. Eventually, I was heading up the mountain, totally lost, and that's when I found this place.
I shook my head, completely at a loss for words. I never could have imagined that this was her tale. Even when she first came to me, bleeding and rain-drenched, she'd been bright and kind and helpful. But I remember the quiet little sobs I'd heard after turning my back in a way she sometimes seemed so far away. I wanted to wrap her up in my arms and hold her so tight that no more grief could touch her. She turned and smiled at me through her tears, and I realized how good she was at putting on that brave, optimistic face.
I still think that maybe, somehow my sister's okay. Maybe she called for help and they came in time, and found room for her in a hospital ward, and she's fighting right now to pull through. I wonder if this was fate all along. I found you, and you taught me all these things. And we're all going to be just fine.
Okay, I don't know if this is the right time to jump in, but I just want to say, I don't completely agree with how the sister went about things, because, you know, like, she was showing symptoms, right, but what she decided to do was lock Mallory out, and she said in a way it was to save her, but the thing is, Mallory, like, didn't know where to go, so that's why I don't completely agree with it. Like, I know it was, like, I guess kind of fate, like they said, but, you know, like, what was Mallory, like, supposed to do at that point, you know, when looking for help? Especially considering, like, in this kind of era, like, nobody would really or at least most people wouldn't like try and help her if they just found her, you know? So I don't know if I completely agree with it, but I guess I can also kind of understand like why the sister did it. And I guess since they were like in the city still, like it probably would have just been like kind of futile for Mallory to stay there anyway. So I don't know, just a lot of mixed feelings about this, but yeah, that's just what I like personally think about it for everybody. I just wanted to like throw in my own thoughts there. But stunned by her words, I slid off the couch and knelt before her. My body acted on its own, relieved that she was safe here with me. Took her hands in mine to reassure her.
I think you're right. I think it was fate. Because as much as you needed someone like me, I needed someone like you even more.
I felt like I was drowning in her eyes. The rain was beating down outside, roaring louder as gusts of winds sent torrents crashing against the cabin. I felt this closeness with her, and I hungered for more. More talking, more banter, more laughter, more time, more touching, more everything. Through the noise of the rain, I heard the pot of stew I left on the stove starting to bubble.
I should check that.
Mallory wiped her tears as I got up and returned to the kitchen. The stew had thawed and heated through quite nicely, especially considering I left it unattended for so long. Imagine how awkward it would have been to serve her burnt food after that whole talk, snorted my brain. Yeah, imagine. I brought Mallory a bowl. She thanked me. We sat and ate and talked a little, the conversation growing lighter as the cabin darkened. The storm kept on and on outside, and soon rolling claps of thunder were shaking the sky. Mallory's face grew paler as the noise grew. She set the empty bowl aside and shifted uncomfortably, eyes glistening.
It's gotten pretty late. I guess we should go to sleep.
Are you okay?
Oh, totally. I just feel a little on edge during storms, that's all. No big deal. It's really, really fine.
Okay. Well, there's the crank flashlight on the desk over by the door, if you feel like you need some backup light. And you know I'm just upstairs. Good night, Mallory.
I climbed upstairs, got undressed, and crawled into bed. I stared at the ceiling as rain poured down the window beside me, wind howling over the mountain ridge. I thought about everything Mallory had told me and everything that had happened between us over the past few days. Turn off the light. Slowly I drifted towards sleep, less and less aware of the flashes of lightning and boomy thunder. I started to dream without fully realizing it, imagining that my old house cat, Fidget, had crawled onto the bed with me, imagining that my bed was floating on ocean waves. A crack of thunder louder than the rest, and a squeal coming from someone very close woke me.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, well hi. How are you? Mallory peeked at me from beneath my own blankets. For a moment I thought it was a dream, but no. I could feel her there beside me, trembling.
I'm sorry. I lied and I'm not fine. I don't like thunder. I just get so scared. I can't help it.
The tremors in her voice were even worse than in her body. I suspected the storm had made her a little uneasy, but I had no idea she'd been fighting down this much terror. I sat up, reaching for her, my only instinct to comfort and protect. That's when I remembered I was in my underwear.
Bruh.
Maybe she wouldn't notice.
It's okay. It's only noise. It'll be over soon.
She nuzzled into me, sniffling. Her face was red. Moisture glistened on her face, her chest. She was sweating and crying, and her heart pounded so hard I could feel it through the mattress.
I don't want to sleep alone tonight.
Okay. It's okay.
I stopped short, in disbelief of how much my mindset has changed. How have I gone from refusing to be anywhere near her to this? She was in my bed, and we were breathing each other's air. I haven't even checked her temperature.
I want to stay with you.
She whispered this, touching my hand, her eyes pleading with me. She was so beautiful. All I wanted to do in that moment was kiss her.
Yeah, boy.
Ooh! Is it the moment? It's a little whack that after a tragic story, although I'm pretty sure, like, yeah, I don't know. You know what? Jeongin, be bold. Let's show her how you feel, bruh. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna save right here because I don't know. Alright, let's go. Slowly I leaned in and brushed my lips against hers. A moment later, she kissed me back. See? What'd I tell you? No, I wouldn't do that in real life, by the way, if I were you guys. Even though she's in the bed. I probably wouldn't do that. Anyway, we looked at each other again and my arms tightened around her.
I want you to stay with me too.
She shifted closer to me, resting her head on the pillow next to mine. Yeah, look at that. Whoops. She sniffled, giving me a soft smile as I stroked her hair.
Thank you for everything. You make me feel so safe.
I watched Mallory's eyes fall shut. Her breathing became deep and slow, and though she'd fallen asleep, that little smile never faded. I kept stroking her hair. It felt so soft between my fingers I was hypnotized. How had I lived all alone for so long? How had I not known what was missing? Or what I was missing, but yeah. The storm gradually retreated and the night grew darker and quieter. I struggled to keep my eyes open. Maybe I was a little afraid that if I let myself fall asleep, I'd wake up to find that this was all a dream, but eventually I fell asleep anyway. Alright. Let's get going, shall we? Like I said, I'll do like 2 chapters every video. So the parts might be a little long, everybody, so I apologize in advance for that. Anyway, the next morning I awoke to the sound of rain softly pelting the windows. The storm had passed, leaving only a damp, drizzly day behind. I kept my eyes closed and listened, heard a faint sound of the rain dripping from the downspout along the house. I stretched out my arms. The bed around me was empty and cold. Mallory was gone, but I knew she had been there because I could still feel her on my skin. The cabin felt extra chilly. I got out of bed and dressed up, warm, pulling on a pair of worn-out slippers, and I made my way downstairs. Right away, I spotted Mallory in the kitchen, and I felt my face break into a smile. She had a bucket and a bunch of rags out, and she seemed to be cleaning quite furiously with a cloth and spray bottle in hand.
Good morning.
She startled upright, fumbling and dropping the spray bottle. It clattered on the floor at her feet.
You scared me.
Sorry. I guess these slippers add +1 to my sneak ability.
That's right, you were sneak 99, now you're sneak 100. Mallory bent to pick up the bottle. When she stood back up, I noticed how red her cheeks were. How the rest of her face almost looked sickly pale. Yeah, she does not look good. You guys see that face?
Are you feeling okay?
She quickly averted her gaze.
I'm fine. I just got dizzy from standing up so quickly.
I didn't think I really believed her. She was feeling awkward, maybe even hiding something. Had I done something to make her uncomfortable? I looked around at the sparkling kitchen, the cabinets, appliances, and dishes all gleaming, like new.
You must have woken up really early to get this much work done. Did you get enough sleep?
What's that? Oh, yes I did.
And her face softened and her tone turned sincere.
I think last night was the best sleep I've ever had.
My heart fluttered with acknowledgement, and with the memory of falling asleep with her in my arms.
Good. I agree.
Yeah, agreed. She nodded and turned back to finish up her chores in the kitchen. I decided to check in with work stuff, so I booted up my computer. There were only a handful of emails needing attention. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna summarize stuff because he does talk a lot in his own head. So, yeah, he looked through the deadlines and he was trying to make sure he was on track with everything. So, he wasn't able to focus. He was glancing out the window and then he zoned out as he watched the rain come down. It looks like the rain's not stopping, basically. There was an empty glass left on the table outside, and it was filled to the brim with rainwater. The soap wooden planks of the deck looked like caramel. Okay, so I thought about the winter. I'd have to show Mallory how to protect the garden and the hens and the bees when the cold weather comes. And there were all the fun things we could do together. I wonder if she'd ever gone tobogganing before, or had a bonfire out in the snow. I could find somewhere online to buy marshmallows and order them right away. They might get dropped off sometime in the winter. There came a sudden clatter and thud from the kitchen. I jumped, nearly knocking my coffee out the desk.
Mallory?
She didn't answer. I stood up quickly, walking over to see what happened. My throat tightened when I looked past the counter. Oh no! She didn't die, did— okay, no, she just passed out. I think. She's not dead yet. Anyway, Mallory laid sprawled on the floor, her cheeks red and beads of sweat gleaming on her forehead. Her eyes were closed, her head gently lolling to the side. Is that how you say that?
Mallory!
Anyway, I rushed to her side, dropping to my knees and propping her up in my arms. The touch of her skin warmed my hands. She was burning up. A groan left her lips and her eyes fluttered open.
Mallory, are you okay?
Hey there. Why are we on the floor?
Her gaze seemed to drift past me as though she was having a hard time focusing.
You must have fainted. I knew something wasn't right. Why didn't you tell me?
I'm fine. It was just a sudden dizzy spell. I haven't eaten breakfast, that's probably it.
But I could feel her body starting to tremble. Her skin felt fever hot, and yet there were goosebumps on her arms and legs. Shit. My only instinct now was to make sure she was okay. I lifted her up off the floor.
Oh my, what are you doing? Put me down!
I refused. No, I'm just kidding. I quickly carried her over to the couch and put her down there. Covered her in blankets and tucked her in tightly, my face set with grim determination. I brushed her hair back to feel her forehead and ignored the anxious way my stomach clenched. I darted back into the kitchen, grabbed the temperature scanner from the drawer, and returned to Mallory's side.
Honestly, I'm fine. I probably just overworked myself.
Not buying it.
No.
Oh, that does not sound good. I just went boop boop and then dun dun. Yeah, that's definitely not good. I held up the scanner. It seemed to take forever and ever to come up with a reading. And when it did, my heart sank.
You definitely have a fever.
Mallory seemed to shrink under the blankets. Seeing her like this, looking so helpless and uncertain, made my heart feel like it was being painfully squeezed.
Is it your leg? Let me look at it. Maybe you've developed an infection.
Yeah, that's probably it.
When did you start feeling sick? This morning? We can get your temperature under control with some aspirin, no worries. And then we'll go from there.
I didn't know when I had started to pace, but there I was, heading this way and that, making my way over to the kitchen to search for whatever it was that could help her. I filled a glass with water and reached up into my cupboards for the aspirin bottle, grateful to have kept the supply.
Psych!
Except it wasn't there. Where was it? Had I misplaced it? Maybe Mallory put it away somewhere else by mistake. I brought her the glass of water anyway and used a damp cloth to cool her forehead.
Shh. Just relax and let me take care of you for a minute, okay?
She opened her mouth to argue, probably, but backed down when she saw the look in my eyes. I moved to her feet and pushed back the blanket to expose her injured leg. I carefully unwrapped the gauze and peeled back the bandages to see what was going on. There was bruising around the wound and it was still a bit swollen, but then, it only had been a few days. The healing process for something like this would take weeks.
I should be keeping a closer eye on this.
I shook my head.
Drink your water, okay? And you should have something to eat. What would you like?
I'm not really hungry. I just feel a bit tired. I'm sure I'll feel good as new if I just have a little nap.
I let out a concerned sigh, but agreed. After tucking her in a little tighter, crossed back into the kitchen and stood there aimlessly for a minute or two. I didn't know what to do. Make her a pot of soup, said my brain. Good idea, brain, I thought.
Carrots, onions, celery, potatoes. Potatoes? Oh no, of course I don't have potatoes.
Yeah, rest in pieces. I muttered to myself as I searched my kitchen for ingredients, then began roughly chopping what I had. There was some rice in the pantry, I knew, and some peas in the freezer. Soon I was dipping my soup ingredients into a pot with a shower of salt and dried parsley. Covered all of it with a stock I'd made from chicken bones and veggie scraps, and set it to simmer. When I crept back over to check on Mallory, I found her deeply asleep. I exchanged the damp cloth on her forehead and piled more blankets around her, then just sat and watched her, feeling dismayed. Deep down I knew what this could be, but I didn't want to think about that. And if I did have to think about it, I didn't want to believe it. And if I had every reason to believe it. No. I stood up and returned to the kitchen, gave the bubbling soup a stir, and remembered the aspirin. I started searching for it again, checking the drawers and cabinets. Searched in the bathroom and in the living room, even getting down on my knees to see if it had rolled beneath some furniture. That's when I spotted it hidden beneath the couch where Mallory was resting. I reached under the couch and grabbed the bottle. A feeling of immense dread began to form within me. Let me guess, it's empty, isn't it?
Correct!
Already I could tell by the weight of the bottle and the silence as I turned it, but I had to see to believe it. Popped off the cap and looked inside. And yep, it was empty, I was right. Wait, at least 20, maybe 30 tablets gone in less than a week. Damn, she's like... She knew, I think maybe that's the cause of her fainting, like... The drugs, like, got too strong for her, and then, yeah, it, like... it caused her to faint a bit. I don't know. I don't know how aspirin works, everybody, so... don't quote me on that. I looked up at Mallory's sleeping face. I jumped at a loud thwack on the window. Irrationally, I wondered if someone had thrown a rock. It was more likely that a bird had flown into the glass, especially considering how clean it had been since Mallory came to stay. Went to the window to check. Sure enough, a large black bird lay dead on the porch. It appeared to have snapped his neck when it hit the window.
Mallory would hate to see that.
Yeah, what the heck is happening right now? I glanced back at her, a little worried I'd wake her up by talking to myself. But even the loud noise the bird hitting the window hadn't caused her to stir. At that moment, I was still clutching the empty aspirin bottle and I looked down at it. Yeah, she probably was taking them in secret, but why? Was it for the pain in her leg or some other ailment? Overwhelming some frustration washed over me in that moment, and apparently I squeezed the bottle so hard it broke.
Stupid!
Threw the broken bottle in the trash and then I stormed outside to deal with the dead bird's body. Oh, there she is. Okay. So Mallory didn't wake up until the evening. She started coughing right away, even as she sat up clutching the blankets close to herself.
What time is it?
Don't get up. At least not so fast. Let me help you.
I stood in the kitchen tending the soup that I had been keeping warm for hours. Mallory looked around groggily, rubbing her eyes.
But it's nighttime. Why did you let me sleep so long? I only wanted to rest for an hour or so.
That's not what your body wanted. I'm glad you got some rest anyway. It was clearly much needed.
Though I told her not to move yet, she bundled the blankets around her and made her way over to the kitchen.
Hi.
Oh, hi, how are ya? Look at that, look at her. She leaned against the support beam. Her cheeks were still red and her eyelids looked heavy. The way she wrapped the blankets around herself made her resemble a colorful turtle, her long slender arms poking out to hold onto the beam.
How do you feel?
My muscles are a bit achy, but I don't feel cold anymore. I think all the blankets you piled on top of me helped.
I nodded and turned my attention back to the stove. I wanted to ask about the aspirin, but I was nervous.
Wait, are you cooking?
She took a step towards me, trying to peer into the pot, then wobbled and had to return to the support beam. Looked as though she barely had any strength to stand. I bit my tongue, not wanting to. I bit my tongue, not wanting to be overbearing. I'd get her to sit back down by offering her some food.
I am. It's ready to eat now. Go have a seat and I'll bring you a bowl.
I half expected her to argue, to insist she could get her own bowl or that I should just sit while she served me, but instead she just backed away and went to sit at the table.
It looks really good. Thank you for making it.
My pleasure. I bet you thought I had no cooking skills. Well, it's finally my time to shine.
No, true. She laughed half-heartedly.
I look forward to seeing what you're capable of, Cooking Senpai.
She folded her blanket neatly over the chair beside her, then placed her arms on the table to form a pillow for her head. She sat with her head down until I set a bowl of soup beside her.
Oh, that looks so wonderful.
She leaned over the steaming bowl with her eyes closed, holding back her hair, as she breathed in slowly.
I use lots of spices. They make all the difference when flavoring a dish.
I gave her a little wink and she smiled.
Bon appetit.
We both raised steaming spoonfuls of soup, blowing on them softly. Only Mallory's exhalation turned raspy, hitched, and she started to cough. So she dropped her spoon back to the bowl and held a hand to her throat. She drew a deep breath, looking dismayed.
I'm so sorry.
Too spicy?
No, I can't. I don't know why.
Mallory tried her best to stifle the coughs with little success. A nervous laugh came out of my mouth.
Those autumn allergies are so annoying, am I right?
She didn't answer. She was breathing very slowly and focusing very hard on bringing a spoonful of soup to her mouth. She slurped it and honestly, she looked like she wanted to throw up.
That bad?
No,
She was racked with another coughing fit. Her chest seemed to rattle with each breath. I couldn't stand seeing her like this. I went to her, rubbing her back as I pushed a glass of water into her hands.
Here, drink some.
She nodded and clutched the glass hard, trying her best to drink while her chest heaved. A minute later, after she managed to take a few sips, she was able to breathe a little more easily.
I'm so sorry. I can't seem to stop.
You don't have to be sorry.
Tears began to roll down her face. They splashed onto the table and into her neglected soup bowl.
What if?
Shh.
More tears dripped from her eyes, more coughs rattled in her chest.
You don't have to worry. Everything will be okay. All you need to do is rest and let me take care of you. This will pass.
I think I maybe just want to lie down.
Okay. I'll help you upstairs to the bed. He'll be extra comfy there.
She gave a small nod. Her eyes were puffy and red as she gathered up her blankets in her arms. We headed for the stairs. I walked with her, taking the steps one at a time and holding her in case she lost her strength. Her skin felt even hotter, burning me even through her sleeve. She needed a fever reducer, that was certain. I made a mental note to check when the new bottle of aspirin I ordered would arrive. Once we made it to the upper floor, Mallory pushed me away and started coughing into her blankets, doubling over and trying to muffle the sound of her pain. I unfurled the bed covers and helped her climb in. Yeah, okay, so we pulled off the covers over.
These blankets are so heavy. I can barely move.
Good. That means you're tucked in, safe and sound.
I brushed her hair back, tracing the side of her burning face with my fingertips.
I'm going to get you some water and things. And then I'll be back, okay?
I hurried back downstairs and started loading up a tray with water, a few damp face cloths, and then her uneaten bowl of soup. I wanted her to have it right beside her the minute she had an appetite. But of course, that wouldn't be enough. I racked my brain for anything I had in the house that would drive down her fever. Then it hit me. My mother used to talk about the healing properties of basil and garlic. I couldn't recall the specifics, but it was something. And both of those were already growing in my garden, you know. Rushed over to the kitchen and filled the kettle with water. While that was coming up to boil, I darted the aquaponics room. Oh yeah, it was actually in the room, my bad. But anyway. So, there were some basil plants sitting happily under their grow lights, and they were just waiting to be harvested, so, you know, yeah. They might do something to soothe their pain. Next I grabbed a handful of basil plants, or a handful of leaves from the basil plants, and then, so I dug out some garlic and extracted a homemade jar of honey that was sitting on the back shelf. And then he checked one more time just in case there was something else. On impulse, there was a bright red hibiscus flower in bloom, and he plucked it. The one flower had an unusually bright color. Okay, so he added everything to the water. And the concoction probably doesn't taste good, but it should help. So, delicately he placed the flower on the tray along with a mug of freshly brewed tea. The smell was overpowering. Maybe she wouldn't be able to smell it. Yeah, probably not. Standing the stairs, I could hear Mallory coughing, and she couldn't stifle it anymore, really. I paused on the steps, waiting for her to finish letting it out. A small groan followed the coughing fit. I climbed the stairs, plastering what I hope was an optimistic expression onto my face.
Hey, I'm back. And I brought you your soup, in case you have an appetite.
Oh, whoops, I accidentally skipped part of that line, my bad. She pulled up the covers close to her face in a poor attempt to hide herself. Rested the tray next to the bed, and placed one of the damp cloths on her forehead. In the dim light of the bedside lamp, I could see trickles of sweat on her face, neck, and breasts.
Thank you.
Oh.
You're doing too much for me.
Okay, that could be a thumbnail right there.
Please, it doesn't feel like enough. Isn't there anything else I can get for you?
Her expression turned into a perplexed one for a moment, and she forced a little smile.
Well, now that you mention it, I could use some tissues.
Ah, right. I've got some in this drawer here. Ta-da!
She took the packet of tissues and turned her face away, coughing a wet, guttural cough.
Why are you so determined to take care of me?
Oh, maybe that's too. Expression change. Anyway, her gaze was filled with hope and confusion. I took her hand in mine and gave it a small squeeze.
You would do the same for me, wouldn't you?
Her lips parted and eyes opened wide. She gave me a soundless nod of reassurance.
It's a no-brainer. I care about you, and want you to feel better. It's as simple as that.
There was a long silence between us then, exchanging our knowing looks with gentle hand squeezes. I thought about the aspirin, and the 20 or 30 pills that had disappeared in the space of a few days.
Hey, I found the aspirin bottle, by the way.
Okay, sorry, more thumbnails. Anyway, she gasped, pulling her hand from mine to cover her face.
I'm so sorry. I should have said something sooner.
I mean, yeah, you should have. Was it for your leg? To stop it hurting? Or did you know you were developing a fever? You know what? It doesn't matter. I placed an order for more. It should be here tomorrow or the next day, I think. I want you to know that I'm grateful to have you here. And I care about you very much.
Running her fingers to let her eyes peek through, she slowly lowered her defenses.
I don't want to be sick.
I know.
I don't want you to get sick.
I'm not worried about that.
You can't be near me. You need to stay away.
I stretched out next to her onto the bed, my face resting close to hers.
I'm staying right here, by your side, no matter what.
She turned to look at the tray of soup with the water and tea beside it.
What a pretty flower. Where did it come from?
She reached over to gently pick up the scarlet blossom.
From my fish garden, or whatever you called it. It must have opened up today. I don't remember seeing it when I fed the fish yesterday.
It's beautiful. What type of flower is it?
A hibiscus. They only bloom for a short while, so we're lucky we got to see it.
She lay there with her eyes closed with the flower pressed to her nose.
The petals make a wonderful tea. I'll make you some with the other blossoms, if you like.
Mallory opened her eyes but didn't look at me. She was staring into space deep in thought.
What is it?
Oh, nothing. The rain sounds nice. I think it's making me sleepy.
I didn't quite believe that. Seemed like there was something she didn't want to say. But I couldn't push her now.
That's perfectly alright. You have sweet dreams now.
Good night.
I lay there watching her breathe, counting the minutes between each coughing fit, resting my hand on her burning chest so I could feel her heartbeat. I had been somewhere like this before. My parents. I tried my best to care for them when they were sick. I'd been so afraid, but I hadn't gotten sick. Part of me almost wondered, even hoped, that I might be immune. I don't think so, but okay. I think maybe you handle it better. Like, I don't know, maybe you could have it, but then like you show no symptoms at all, and you actually handle it better. I don't know. But that thought in the back of my mind hadn't eased my fear of strangers, of Mallory when she first appeared in my life. But now I didn't care. Either way, all I wanted was for her to get better. Eventually, I drifted off to sleep too. All right. Oh, okay. That chapter title is not good, and also I think the background is actually, or these thingies right here are black, so I'm a little afraid of what's gonna happen next. I'm gonna be honest, but yeah, that was it. I think this is a good place to end it because I've already done 2 chapters, and this video is already getting like another hour long. So yeah, like, I'm actually glad she kind of opened up on like what happened because, you know, we've been like wondering it for so long, and I was kind of worried that it would kind of drag out too long, or, you know, she would always say it once she was like on the verge of death or something. I've seen visual novels do that, or just any story in general, but yeah, it was nice to get closure, and pretty interesting that we finally made a romantic move, but then now she's like, now there's like things happening to her, so yeah. And like I said, this chapter title, which is Infection, and also the black, whatever these things are, that's a little worrisome, because it could be a sign that something bad might happen in the next chapter. Like, really, really bad. But anyway, with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this part of Cabin Fever. In the top right corner of your screen, there will be an info card that will take you to the next part once it becomes available. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.